My brothers, my sisters, my friends, stop for a moment and feel the weight of this truth. Freedom is not a gift. It's not a token handed to you by those in power. It's not a privilege granted by systems or societies. It's not a favor bestowed upon you because you played by their rules. No, my friends, freedom is the prize of courage. It's the reward for those who dare to stand tall, who dare to speak truth, who dare to fight for the right to be themselves in a world that demands conformity. Look around you. See the chains, not just the ones of steel, but the ones forged in your mind, your heart, your spirit. Chains of doubt that whisper you're not enough. Chains of fear that tell you to stay silent. Chains of lies that convince you your dreams are too big, your voice too small, your worth too little. These are the chains that bind us all, whether we're born in the projects or the penthouse, whether we're young or old, whether we're seen or unseen. But I'm here to tell you today that those chains are not your destiny. They are not your truth. They are not your end. Freedom, true freedom, the kind that sets your soul on fire, the kind that lets you walk through this world unbowed and unbroken, is within your reach. But you must fight for it. You must claim it. You must win it with the courage that burns inside you, waiting to be unleashed. Today, we're going to journey together. We're going to face the lies, confront the fears, and ignite the courage that will lead us to freedom. This is not a sermon, not a lecture, but a call to arms, a call to rise, to fight, to be free. Are you with me? Let me take you back to a time when I was a young man, trapped not just by the world, but by myself. My name was Malcolm Little then, a name that carried the weight of a society that saw me as less because of my skin, less because of my circumstances, less because of the dreams that stirred in my heart. I grew up in a world that told me freedom was for others, for those with the right name, the right look, the right connections. I remember the streets of Harlem, where I walked with a swagger that hid my pain. I straightened my hair, wore flashy clothes, and spoke words that weren't mine, all to fit into a world that didn't want me. I was chasing a version of freedom I thought I could buy, a freedom of acceptance, of approval, of belonging, but it was a lie. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw a stranger. Every time I spoke, I heard someone else's voice. Every time I dreamed, I felt the weight of a world that said, "You don't belong here." Then came the day I found myself in a prison cell, my body confined, my spirit broken. I was 21 years old, and I thought my life was over. I thought freedom was a dream I'd never touch. But in that cell, in the silence of those long nights, something shifted. I found books that told stories I'd never heard, stories of my people, of their strength, their struggle, their triumphs. I found voices of truth, voices of defiance, voices that refused to bow. And I found something else, a spark within me, a spark that said, "Malcolm, you are more than this. You are more than the lies they've told you." That spark became a flame. I began to read voraciously, history, philosophy, religion, anything I could get my hands on. I began to question everything I'd been taught. I began to see the chains for what they were, not iron, but ideas. Ideas that I was inferior, ideas that I was powerless, ideas that freedom was a gift I didn't deserve. And with every page I turned, every truth I uncovered, those chains began to crack. It wasn't easy. There were nights when doubt crept back in, when the lies whispered louder than the truth. But I kept going. I kept fighting. I kept claiming my freedom, piece by piece, truth by truth, until I stood tall, not as Malcolm Little, but as Malcolm X, a man who knew his worth, his power, his purpose. That was the day I learned that freedom is not a gift, it's a prize, and the price is courage. Now let me ask you, my brothers and sisters, what chains do you wear? What lies have you been told that keep you from your freedom? Maybe it's the lie that you're not smart enough to go back to school. Maybe it's the lie that your past defines your future. Maybe it's the lie that you're too broken, too flawed, too different to be loved, to be successful, to be free. We live in a world that thrives on keeping us chained. It's a world that profits from our self-doubt, our silence, our conformity. They tell us freedom is a paycheck, a status, a perfect body, a perfect life. They tell us freedom is following their rules, fitting their mold, staying in our lane. But that's not freedom. That's a cage dressed up in shiny promises. True freedom is the courage to be yourself unapologetically. It's the courage to speak your truth even when your voice shakes. It's the courage to chase your dreams even when the world laughs. It's the courage to look in the mirror and love what you see. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real, because you're human, because you're here. But the world doesn't make it easy. They'll tell you your dreams are too big, your voice too small, your worth too little. They'll tell you to wait your turn, to know your place, to be grateful for what you're given. They'll tell you freedom is a gift they control, a privilege you have to earn. But I'm here to tell you, freedom is not theirs to give. It's yours to take. It's yours to fight for. It's yours to win. And the weapon you fight with is courage. Courage to face the truth, to reject the lies, to stand tall in a world that wants you to kneel. Courage to say, I am enough and I will not be chained. Here's your first challenge, my friends. Name your chains. Take a moment today, right now, and identify one lie, one fear, one doubt that's holding you back from your freedom. Maybe it's the voice that says, you'll never make it. Maybe it's the fear that says, you're not good enough. Maybe it's the shame that says, you're too broken to be whole. Get a piece of paper or open a note on your phone and write it down. Be honest, be raw, don't hold back. Write down that chain, whether it's I'm too afraid to start over, or I don't deserve happiness, or I'll never be seen for who I am. Then, next to it, write the truth. If the chain is I'm too afraid to start over, the truth is I have the strength to begin again. If the chain is I don't deserve happiness, the truth is I am worthy of joy, just as I am. This is your first act of courage. This is you staring down the lies that have kept you small. This is you saying, I see you and I'm not letting you define me anymore. Because the moment you name your chains, you take away their power. The moment you face your fears, you weaken their grip. The moment you choose courage, you begin to break free. But naming your chains is just the beginning. Freedom is not won in a single moment. It's won in 1,000 small battles, 1,000 small choices, 1,000 small acts of courage. So don't stop here. Keep going. Keep fighting. Keep claiming your freedom, one truth at a time. Let me tell you about a young woman named Amara, a soul whose story will stay with me forever. Amara was 22 when I met her, living in a small apartment in a city that didn't see her. She was a child of immigrants, raised in a world that told her she didn't belong. She was told her accent was too thick, her dreams too ambitious, her existence too inconvenient. She was told that freedom was for others, for those who looked different, spoke different, lived different. Amara carried those lies like a weight on her shoulders. She worked a job she hated, afraid to ask for more. She silenced her voice, afraid it wouldn't be heard. She buried her dreams, afraid they'd never come true. But one day she stumbled into a community meeting, a gathering of people who were tired of being silenced, tired of being small. And there, in that room, she heard a voice, not mine, not the world's, but her own. It was quiet at first, barely a whisper, but it grew louder. It said, Amara, you are more than this. You are more than the lies they've told you. She started small. She enrolled in a night class, even though she was terrified of failing. She started writing stories, pouring her heart onto the page, even though she thought no one would read them. She started speaking up, sharing her truth with others, even though her hands shook, and with every step she felt the chains falling away. She felt the fire of courage growing within her. Today, Amara is a writer, a voice for her community, a light for those who feel unseen. She's not just telling stories, she's changing them. She's showing others that freedom is not a gift, it's a prize. And she's proof that courage, even in small doses, can move mountains. Her story is not unique. It's the story of anyone who dares to fight for their freedom. It's your story if you choose to write it. Courage is not the absence of fear, my friends. It's not the absence of doubt or pain or struggle. Courage is what you do in the face of fear. It's what you do when the doubt is loud, when the pain is heavy, when the struggle feels endless. Courage is choosing to move forward, even when your knees are shaking. Courage is choosing to speak, even when your voice trembles. Courage is choosing to dream, even when the world tells you to stop. And that courage is already within you. It's in the heart that keeps beating despite the pain. It's in the mind that keeps dreaming despite the doubt. It's in the soul that keeps rising despite the falls. You were born with courage. You were born with the power to break free. You were born to claim the prize of freedom. But the world will test you. It will throw obstacles in your path: rejection, failure, betrayal. It will tell you that freedom is too hard, too far, too much for someone like you. But let me tell you something. Every great victory in history was won by someone who refused to listen to those lies. Every revolution, every breakthrough, every moment of change began with someone who said, "I will not be chained." You don't need to be perfect to be free. You don't need to be fearless to be courageous. You just need to be you, raw, real, relentless. Your flaws, your scars, your struggles, they're not chains. They're proof of your fight. They're evidence of your courage. They're the map of your journey to freedom. Here's your second challenge. Take one step toward your freedom today. It doesn't have to be a giant leap. It doesn't have to be flawless. Maybe it's signing up for that class you've been too scared to take. Maybe it's sharing your art, your voice, your story with the world, even if it feels vulnerable. Maybe it's looking in the mirror and saying out loud, "I am enough and I am free." Whatever it is, do it. Do it with courage. Do it with faith. Do it knowing that every step you take is a victory, a rebellion, a declaration of your worth. And when you take that step, feel the strength of those who came before you, your ancestors, your heroes, the dreamers who fought for their freedom and won. You are not alone. You are part of a legacy, a movement, a force that cannot be stopped. And when you take that step, you inspire others to do the same. You become a spark that lights a fire, a voice that breaks the silence, a hand that lifts others up. Your courage is not just for you, it's for everyone who sees you, everyone who hears you, everyone who's still fighting for their own freedom. My brothers, my sisters, my friends, today is the day you stop waiting for freedom. Today is the day you stop believing the lies that say you're not enough. Today is the day you fight for the prize of courage, the prize of freedom. I want you to leave this video with a fire in your soul, a resolve in your heart, a commitment to live boldly, fearlessly, freely. I want you to go out into the world and claim your freedom, not as a gift, but as a right. Claim it in the way you speak, the way you dream, the way you love. Claim it in the way you rise again and again, no matter how many times the world tries to knock you down. And I want you to share this freedom with others. Lift up someone who's still chained by doubt. Encourage someone who's afraid to fight. Be a light for someone who's lost in the dark. When you claim your freedom, you make it easier for others to claim theirs. When you rise, you lift the world with you. Freedom is not a gift. It's not a promise. It's not a privilege. It's the prize of courage, the courage to be you, to speak your truth, to chase your dreams. It's the courage to say, "I am enough and I will not be chained." My friends, the fight for freedom begins now. It begins with you. It begins with a single act of courage, a single step toward your truth. So rise, fight, shine. Be the warrior you were born to be. And when the world tries to chain you, when the lies try to hold you back, when the fear whispers in your ear, stand tall, look it in the eye, and say, "I am free. I am enough. And I will not be stopped." If this message set your heart ablaze, if it stirred your soul, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, what chain are you breaking today? What step are you taking toward your freedom? And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share this video with them. Let's start a revolution of courage, of truth, of freedom. Hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss a message like this. Together, we're going to change the world. One heart, one voice, one act of courage at a time. Until next time, stay fierce, stay free, and keep fighting.